Hey, it's Stacey Speller, and I just wanted to share with you really quick something that I see a lot in my coaching. Women are saying, how do I get my guy to treat me right? Well, I will tell you that the number one thing is the fact that we as women, we fail to set boundaries. Now, I know I was as guilty of this as anybody, because my challenge was I didn't have good self-worth. I didn't have good self-esteem. So I didn't even think I deserved to set boundaries. Like, who am I to set a boundary and have a standard? I have to just tolerate anything, right? That was my issue. And so when you're not in a good place with your self-esteem and your self-worth, I found my self-worth through faith. But you've got to have good self-worth to know that you are worth setting boundaries and having standards. And it's basically just having that baseline of how you expect and want to be treated. It really is. The challenge is we assume that people should know our boundaries. We assume we meet a guy, he should know, don't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Don't call me all the time last minute for a date, like where I'm just the last resort. Don't do these things. But you don't know what experience he comes to the table with. So you have no idea what he considers normal operating procedures, what he considers a standard. And so we have to be willing to set those standards, because I will tell you this, I coach a lot of women who didn't start off that way. They didn't set the foundation for those standards, and that becomes something that has to be unraveled. It's so much easier when you can start off setting those standards, setting those boundaries. This is what I expect. This is what I like. This is what I appreciate. Sometimes we expect men to read our minds. Well, they're not mind readers. They really are not. But when you can just have those standards and those boundaries and say, hey, I like to plan out my time. I'd appreciate it if you didn't call me at the last minute and ask me to do something. Or, I like to be able to have a conversation. I'm not trying to build a relationship through text message, or whatever it is that you like. Be able to set those standards and then enforce them. Don't kind of just like, oh, it's okay that, you text me at like 11:45 at night and I go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock. And then I feel like, okay, you're not valuing the standards that I have set. Here's what I like. Here's what I want to be treated. Now, if this is something you struggle with, I'd love to hear from you. If maybe you're not confident in even being able to say no. Oftentimes, we struggle with being able to say no. That's a boundary. And then you do something and then you're resentful and you're thinking, why did I accept this? Why am I tolerating this? So before you get into that space, set your relationship up for success by setting some boundaries and some standards, and then articulating, not to be mean, not to be confrontational, not to be demanding, but just, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I like. Here's what I appreciate. Leave me a comment, send me a DM. I love to hear from you. Love to see maybe or hear some of the challenges you may be having in setting boundaries. But I promise you this, if you set boundaries right from the beginning, you will be so glad that you did. If you did not, and now that's something you need to do, you can do that. It just takes your willingness to be able to say, you know what? Now that I've learned better, I want to do better. I want to make a different decision. I always say, with better information, you can make a different decision. And so while maybe you didn't set boundaries in the beginning, now you can make a different decision. Again, I'd love to hear from you. If this is something you struggle with, leave me a comment, DM me. In fact, leave me a comment if you've learned how to set your boundaries. Leave me a comment of what boundaries that you have actually set. Okay? I'd love to hear from you. Chat soon.